Sorry, I don't have the music handy. I feel like I've committed a sin, but it's on my personal laptop, and I only brought the work one this time. So you'll have to hum the theme to yourself. Extra points if you get the saxophone solo. But before we get started today, before we get into our panel, I want to tell you about Kanji, the device management solution for high-growth businesses that runs on Apple devices. IT teams often struggle with complex systems and have to create solutions from scratch when trying to get their company's Apple devices secure and configured. Now with Kanji, a new Mac can be transformed into a ready-for-work computer with all the right apps and settings in place. Devices managed with Kanji keep themselves secure. Apps are patched, macOS is updated, and security controls are enforced without active management from admins. Learn why growing companies like Allbirds, Lacework, and Segment use Kanji for zero-touch Apple device management. And try Kanji for yourself at kandji.io. And thanks very much to Kanji for sponsoring the MacAdmins podcast. All right, we are live here at MacADUK. It is so wonderful to be in person. It has been about, I think it's been 30 months since the last time we recorded live at an event, which would have been JNUC 2019. That is how long it has been since we've had an event in person. So it's great to be with you here in Brighton today. We've got some incredible guests. Mcdonald, welcome to the podcast for your first time.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have you here on the Mac podcast. You're at Kanji right now. Your role is?
I'm the product engineering director at Kanji.
So you're responsible for taking all of those wonderful ideas that Weldon thinks up and turning them into code.
Yeah, basically.
Awesome. And James Ridsdale, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever it is.
I was going to say wherever people happen to be listening.
Exactly, yes. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good
and
man.
I was going to say, how has your conference gone so far?
This has been exceptional. I think it's been a bit of normal back again.
Yeah, that is for sure. David Ackland, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And I was going to say you said 30 kilos down.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's like a third of me.
Yeah.
Left behind.
And Thai full contact boxing?
Well, why not? I mean,
okay.
You've got to try these things, right?
Why not?
You should see the other guy.
Who wants to be the opponent?
Do we have a volunteer from the audience to
Please?
to have a move performed on them?
I think that's a bad idea. I don't think the conference, liability waivers covers that.
I did not recognise you at all, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting lots of second glances. People like, I think I know that guy. But
That's amazing. And Joel Reddick, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. I am now officially ahead of Tom.
I have not
Ben.
looked. I will admit
Sorry.
that I have not
Mr.
looked
Thomas.
if who's on the leaderboard, but it's definitely between you and Ben.
All right. Well, this will push me over the edge since I was already there before. Now I've had more appearances on the podcast. Oh, wow. I forgot you were here.
Some light heckling from the crowd here. Well, it's, I guess the first question is, what's it like being back at a conference, everybody? I mean, I will admit some unexpected emotions as I pulled up the first day, getting to see people again for the first time in 2.5 years.
Well, it's been magical, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, recognise faces from years ago, and we've literally all been cooped up on Zoom calls and everything else for the past 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a little bit weird that I can't mute myself when I cough, but...
No, it's been fantastic. Speaking.
That's my fault.
Speaking of coughing.
Yeah, maybe I'll grab a water.
Oh, I got you.
Oh, COVID.
No, not COVID at all. Too much talking already today. Thank you very much, Tom. This is full service. As the person who's been on the podcast most, I appreciate the hand delivery of waters. This is fantastic. No, but it's been great. It's been great to be in person. It's great to see people again. It does start feeling like a little bit of normalcy, perhaps.
Absolutely.
And it was good. I mean, it's been 2 years, and online stuff has been great. And I'm glad conference, providers were able to do it, but there's definitely a different bit of feel, and I think a little more knowledge sharing, a lot more in the hallway track.
Yeah, definitely.
Than you've had in the online conferences.
You know, it's interesting you bring up the hallway track, because I think that's been one of the things I've craved most out of conferences for the last 2.5 years. And I just want to give a shout out to Maddox from Mac DevOps, who tried to recreate that and did his best to kind of build those serendipitous meetups where you're out in the hallway grabbing a coffee, where you get to sit and chat for a minute. And it's so nice to be able to do that again. I'm not somebody who normally misses small talk. I have missed small talk.
I've missed beer face to face with my friends.
Did you not have beer in lockdown?
Oh no, I went on more the gin side of things, only because I couldn't get draft beer. You see, so this is the thing.
Fair.
Which we had many. We tried a lot of draft beer last night. Didn't we?
We have.
One, two.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So as we think about the conference that's just happened, we've just had 2 days of amazing sessions from people all over the industry. I just want you to take a second and think about, what was your favorite session so far? And we saw some great talks. Rob and Lauren gave a great talk on human-focused security. We saw some talks on education. We saw some talks on MDM features. We saw a wonderful talk from a speaker X that we can't talk about,
no,
at least contractually. No. That certainly didn't happen, but it was amazing.
I think my favourite session with this, and part of the focus for this year's MacAD, was actually around the periphery of Apple technology. So it's like, what makes Apple technology work? Well, I think Dan doing the wireless stuff was actually designing networks for Apple devices in particular, is certainly a pain point that we see our customers struggling with and everything else. And I came out of that going, wow. Now my wife will be happy because our home Wi-Fi, which she constantly complains about, might actually work. So
yeah, I will point out that Dan does have the best Wi-Fi network name. If you didn't notice, it was up on one of his slides. Panic at the Cisco. Strong pull there. Way to go, Dan. But,
I'd say the wireless talk was probably one of my favorites.
Well, so much of Wi-Fi, when we think about, one, it shouldn't work at all. The more you dig into the physics of how Wi-Fi operates, the less it should actually ever work. But it does. And there's rules to follow. I feel like he did a lot of mythology dispelling with the talk approach he chose.
Yeah. But the roaming part.
Yeah.
Particularly, it's like, that's why it does that.
See, I had a chat with him last night about my home setup and everything else, because I seem to have, there's a term in the UK, all the gear and no idea, and that's definitely me. And I said to him last night, yeah, I've got that, and he said, don't do that. Actually, your network shouldn't work.
Yep, I think that's about it. Joel, what are your thoughts here?
I thought Robin, you've already mentioned Robin? Yeah! Fantastic talk. I think that interaction, and you should ask him, if you see Robin in person, he's got a particular flag on his jacket that will take some explaining as to what it is for a specific regional. Well, we'll leave it up to Robin for that. But no, great conversation, great talk, getting into the nitty-gritty of how to be human, right? And, all too often, I think as admins, it's easy for us to dismiss the users as not being functional or not being valuable, when that's entirely not the case. And in fact, if we didn't have users, we wouldn't be here. And so providing that humanity back into that is a really great thing to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, I would say probably my favorite session was Mac Stadium and Chris Chapman. It's not, I think, a really common workflow to, have these like remote access issues with macOS, right? I feel like the majority of, larger, enterprise deployments is typically like one-to-one laptops, et cetera, right? So everybody has something portable. But in, government high compliancy environments, there is a lot of desktop usage, and COVID really affected that. And what are we going to do? Install TeamViewer on everything? So their solution is really interesting, and it was really great to get to see that talked about a bit more and shine some light there.
Absolutely. I think for me, I was bouncing between a lot of the sessions, and what it came down to, Dan's talk, as was mentioned, was phenomenal. I thought he dropped a lot of great knowledge, and we'll try and backport, if you're listening to this, say in several weeks, we'll try and get all the videos from the conference linked up so that folks have a good idea of what's actually happened at the conference this time. I'm trying to think, some of the other great talks that we saw. Alex Narvi gave a great talk on using REST APIs as part of your day-to-day operations. And doing that with FileMaker was awesome. A FileMaker is an underrated tool, in my opinion. There's a lot that it can bring to the table, not just in terms of database and database operations, but to run scripts and build reports and build layouts and all of those kind of things. I really enjoyed that. So
really
bravo Zulu, Alex, on that.
I was actually going to say, I think next year, well, certainly this year, looking at the conference naming, we should have renamed it to Software Update 22. Do you think something like that?
I think there was a fair amount of software update.
I mean, has anyone actually, does anyone know anything about Software Update here? Have we talked about Software Update? I think we should carry on the conversation. I think it is featured in pretty much every...
Yeah.
And then even at the event last night, it was like, yeah, software updates. Okay, yeah. Yes, they work flawlessly.
That was after the Shelter Hall party, right? That we all felt that way?
Yes.
Yes. I think that's about right.
I actually feel like the software update binary right now.
A bit deprecated.
A bit deprecated and a bit beaten.
We'll just need to restart your launch agent. You'll be fine.
Launch CTO, yeah.
Yep. But so as we get ready, I don't think there's a lot on the calendar for MacAdmins between now and supposedly WWDC, which is probably about somewhere around 3 months away. As we get into, thinking about, we've spent a lot of time thinking about macOS Monterey. It's probably time to start thinking about what comes next. So as we get into the event horizon, what are you looking forward to from WWDC this year?
Software update. Sorry. No. You're right. I mean, I was going to say, we're all kind of hoping it gets better, right? It's fine. Nothing to see here.
Nick?
I don't want to be that guy, but software update. I would just really like to be able to pre-cache the full installer with the MDM protocol and not have to do an install ASAP. So, shameless plug, file feedback, please. Let's get that fixed before next major OS.
Ship out
We'll put
USB.
if you'll get me a feedback number, we'll put that in the show notes and give people the opportunity to dupe your feedback there. Because I was going to say, Apple's a lot more responsive to feedback now, I think, than in a lot of previous years. And, I certainly see, by the time this episode drops, we'll probably have the enterprise report card available. And thanks again to Kanji for putting that, sponsoring that effort. I was going to say, it's definitely good to see Apple paying attention and being very, obviously, we all have our apology MacBook Pro 14s and 16s now as apologies for the butterfly keyboard and maybe some of the past sins of fewer ports. But I think that, there's a lot of, maybe, I'm not going to call it fan service, I'm not going to call it wish fulfillment, but I certainly think that there's a lot of product focus on the happiness of enterprise admins now. So, David, what are you thinking for WWDC this year?
It's less of a big thing at WWDC, but just there, apart from the obvious that we've just mentioned, but just the ongoing expansion of MDM. There's just some attention going to the Mac admins and giving us tools that we can use and new MDM commands and so on. Just they can just keep pushing forward with that. I love my janky bash scripts, but if they could be replaced, I'm cool with that as well.
Yeah, some things you'd be willing to give up, even though hard-won victories in bash are certainly valuable, but setting it aside for a proper command might be nice.
Those scripts that should never have worked, but they did, and then.
Yep. Joel?
Well, I think there's a sleeper possible hit, right? And a little bit what, David, you already mentioned, but declarative MDM. This was this kind of iceberg, mine, I don't know, take your pick. We don't really know yet. It's Schrodinger's possibility here. of what could really be done as the MDM spec kind of evolves. I'm very excited about the possibilities of declarative MDM. I think we're still kind of a ways away from that. We've got some previews of what's going on, so I'm very interested to hear if more along those lines goes, right? Because that is the future. I think Apple's been very clear about this. Is that
For sure.
That's what they're moving to, what they're going for. So if we are going to see your bash scripts go away, it's probably going to be in some form of those new pieces. And I'm also very excited that Python's gone. I'll just put that out there.
What you can't see is people throwing things right now. No.
If you'd listened to me at conferences from years ago, you'd realize you'd be in a better position now. So I'm just going to say that.
I was going to say, we'll put the talks about Swift that I can find in that you've done over conferences over the years into the show notes where possible. But I just need to take a quick break here to thank our friends at Halp. The people at Halp reached out to us the other day to talk about sponsoring our podcast, and it seems like a no-brainer for ticketing. You probably already use Slack to communicate with people at work, and with Halp in the mix, you can easily create tickets from the conversations you're already having. Simple as that, no send to the portal or uncomfortable standoffs with your colleagues as you try to get them to conform to your process. From messages in open channels to DMs, you can easily turn your chat into a ticket that you can reassign, manage, and report on. It also has two-way sync with Zendesk and Jira, even on-prem, so you can skip the work disruption and just stay in the flow. Tons of great companies are using it for IT and operations like Slack, Adobe, Gusto, and even Home Depot. Go check it out and mention the Mac Admins podcast, and they'll set you up with an extended 6-week trial. I saw a video of somebody setting it up and using it in 5 minutes. So that gives you an extra 60,475 minutes to use Halp and make tickets in Slack. Visit halp.com, that's HALP.com, and get started today. So, thinking about, the platforms that we all support right now. It's been a really interesting year. We've gotten some new features, we've gotten some old features made better. What's got you actually excited from the management perspective right now?
That's a very deep question.
It is a deep question.
One that my brain at the moment cannot compute.
Can we get this man a beer?
Actually, that might work.
Hair of the dog. This little personal passion of mine is, I've done a couple of talks on FIDO keys, and so I'm quite interested in where Apple's going with passkeys. So,
yeah.
From a management perspective, it's goods and bads, right? Getting rid of passwords, fantastic.
Yes, please.
We should do more of that, right?
Absolutely.
It's going to be better for all of us if we can find better and better ways of securing user authentication. The passkeys are inherently not very manageable by enterprises currently. So if there is an interest on IT or whatever, right now you have some of those inroads with some of the password management tools and things like that, where this is 100% in iCloud, where they're being synchronized between your devices. So if you're interested in that, it's great. Users are definitely going to be interested in that. So I think from a management perspective, it's not a huge thing to think about. The removal of Python is more front of mind. But certainly as a technology gets used more and more for passwordless or multi-factor authentication into a variety of services, it's going to be more interesting for admins to think about that and look at how that impacts their environment.
Yeah, and if you're really itching to try this out in your environment, give GitHub a look. Everybody ought to have a GitHub account, but it supports passkeys. And so you can use passkeys in Safari to make GitHub a passwordless operation. And that's exciting. The ability to authenticate to secure services like GitHub without a password for the most part is really appealing. So.
Yeah, and have it synchronized between all your devices, right? That's the real power in this.
Yeah, because that's right. When we think about tokenized operations like that, you've usually got to put that someplace really safe. The ability to kind of sync those around with iCloud Keychain is a difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been using like a YubiKey for years for personal accounts and things
Sure,
like that.
yeah.
And you don't, if the website supports multiple FIDO keys, then you can usually register like Touch ID, things like that, right? But if I lose this YubiKey, now I got to go through all these reset processes. I got to make sure I have it on me. flying here, I was like, oh God, is it in the bag? It has the AirTag on it, right? So
You
yeah,
have an
I think-
AirTag on your YubiKey?
Yeah, I've got a little keychain.
Great idea.
The tag is bigger than the key, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks ridiculous, but I'm terrified of losing it, right? Because it's this one thing that's linked to everything, and yeah. So I think passkeys is super interesting.
Yeah, I think on that, we have challenges around passwords with customers. And password management tools are great, but trying to get a non-technical user to even understand what it is and how they're supposed to use it, I feel like if we just skip past that to passwordless, that'll be way easier. I'm not sure if I've thought about with a company and just actually rolling out a password management solution, and it's difficult.
It's hard.
Difficult.
I mean, it's a difficult concept for folks to grasp sometimes, and they're like, oh, but how do I get to use this every place I am? And I think that companies like 1Password make it fairly straightforward to put it on your phone, and password complete tools within Safari and things like that work pretty well, but it's still a challenge. It's not something that we're really set up for.
Needs to be humanized a bit more.
Yeah.
A bit more, that whole process of, storing your credentials. And again, iCloud keychain's amazing, but unfortunately it's not there on managed Apple IDs and things like that, which what a lot of people are trying to push to. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that is definitely a weak spot in managed Apple IDs overall, is the lack of an iCloud keychain, the lack of handoff, the lack of a number of different pieces there that really would enable those managed Apple IDs to kind of be first-party citizens in a lot of ways.
Well, and I think that gets back to, relating this back to admins, right, is that it's a really cool user technology. We all agree it's fantastic for security, for usability, right? I mean, now you can put your AirTag on your dog.
Exactly.
So everybody wins. Dog won't get lost. But then you've got some of these kind of bits, managed Apple IDs. It's rather out of the hand of the enterprise side. So goods and bads.
Yep, ups and downs. I feel like that's a lot of where we are right now, is ups and downs. But let's talk about an up for a second. We just got through, talking a little bit about erase all contents and settings. I mean, how much of when we see features that came out of macOS Monterey, is there one that's more important than that in terms of saving admin time?
It's a game changer. Absolute game changer. Yeah.
And, I think I said it to somebody earlier, but everybody who worked on that deserves a raise, a title bump, and a pony. They certainly drink for free on me if we happen to run into each other in an event.
I learnt the term obliteration. I mean, that's the best word.
I was going to say, it's delightful, right?
Isn't
I always think of Marvin the Martian, right? Like the obliteration ray that he had, and the Imodium or Qmodium, something like that, P53 ray.
I'd love to have been a fly on the wall in the strategy meeting about what do we call this command?
Literally there with a thesaurus going, words, give me the words.
I think destroy it's not clear enough.
Not harsh enough.
Needs to go harder.
The next round of it will be obliteration ultra.
And you put two obliterations together and it becomes obliteration ultra?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But, you think about, one of the interesting things that I think is interesting about, God, that's terrible, Tom. One of the things I think is most interesting about the obliteration key is that you can set it to not obliterate if in the event that it would render the system inoperable, which I think is great for places like kiosks, where at least at that point you can, not even just report back an error, but, let your admin come out and fix the problem before you render a machine totally useless.
But overall, I just think all of this stuff coming in, certainly for our clients as well, just the whole process of return to service, of devices, it's all just getting so much more mature, and everything that we wanted that you've had on iOS previously is now, there's a lot of focus on the Mac. I think both hardware, software, everything, it's really coming together.
Yeah, it feels like a lot more engineering resources got put into macOS Monterey this time out.
I think it's down to Mac Mule, isn't it? Did he get involved?
It's possible.
Yeah.
But I think the erase all content settings combined with the auto advance, so you don't have to click 2 buttons on every device to kick off the enrollment. Those 2 bits combined, you can now have a complete workflow education labs. I know they're not popular, but they exist, and you can just set it up again quite easily.
Yeah. No, it's really good. No, really impressive.
So how has everybody found Brighton? I mean, this was a conference that usually was in London, has moved south to the seaside. I was going to say, James, this is your home. You want to give us a highlight for what you think about Brighton?
Totally. I was going to cycle here, but I think I felt guilty with everyone else checking in their flights, and I'm sort of ambling which route I'm going to walk home. I can give you 2 facts, actually, about Brighton. I didn't do this when I opened the conference. The first fact is that, did you know that the first nudist beach in the UK was opened in Brighton in 1980? Did you know that?
1980 or
1980. 80.
80,
okay.
okay.
Quite late to
I was going to say, I would be surprised about a nudist beach in Victorian England.
I know, exactly. But the other fact is, and this is a cool fact. Brighton, no, seriously, honestly.
The other fact wasn't cool?
No, well, this is...
I'm flinching already, I don't know why.
The first electric railway in the world is in Brighton, and it's still running.
Full size?
Yeah.
Well, not like on a
You
table.
can sit on it. The Volks Railway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why wasn't that part of the...
Oh, I don't know. I've also got another fact as well.
All right, bring it.
Okay, sorry about this. The Victorians made a train that went in the water on stilts, and it was electric, and it was called the Daddy Longlegs. And if you look out, when the tide goes out in Brighton, you can see 2 tracks going along from here over to Rottingdean, which is about 5 miles away. There you go.
And that's why the pier burned down.
Indeed, yes.
Or is it one of these 3 things is made up? We have to
No.
guess?
Those are all facts. All facts about Brighton. Useless,
All right.
but there we go.
I was going to say, everybody's got great trivia about their home, and it's one of the things that I love about being from somewhere is that you get those kind of pieces of detailed history that maybe no one else, has about the place where you live. So my hometown is, for example, famous for a toad tunnel. Like they dug a tunnel under the road so that the toads, when they were migrating, were not just squashed by the cars.
Sounds like a scene from Wind in the Willows.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
was thinking that game, is it Frogger?
Yeah. A little bit of Frogger. I was
Well,
gonna
it's the
say
opposite of Frogger.
Yeah, it's the opposite
Well,
of
if
Frogger.
Frogger had a tunnel, the game would be pretty boring. left.
Yeah, true.
But we ended up on the Daily Show for that one because a bunch of city money got used to build the Toad Tunnel, and everyone's like, "You did what?" Well, they got tired of cleaning the toads off the road. So
here's a question for you. How have you all found the conference being in Brighton? Yeah?
yeah, I was gonna say I've had a great time. I was gonna say I see a lot of applause out there. It's nice to go and visit someplace else. Now, there's no denying London's appeal. I mean, London's a world capital, shall we say? I have really enjoyed being down here. It's been a really interesting spot. I love the seaside walk. The little shops down underneath the seawall have been, really a joy. We sat outside at lunch for one of those today, and got coffee from some other place over that way, and it's been really just a light, nice, slow roll of a conference, and a lot of great pubs. We've had a lot of good evening entertainment here.
Another fact about Brighton: there are 480 pubs in Brighton and Hove.
That's
Wow.
a pretty good pub to capita ratio.
No, that's literally more than one a day. You could spend a nice good
Yeah, I was gonna
couple of
say.
years. This sounds really bad, like I'm just an alcoholic. I'm genuinely not, but
Alcoholics go to meetings.
yes.
But it was fun. We dropped into a pub yesterday, just right outside the door over here, the hole in the wall, and sat down. James is looking around. He'd never been, and so I was gonna say, "This is your town." You're
It
just
was
off
like
the
being
big
on
rag.
holiday. I was like, I've never been here before.
Yeah, it was great. They had really great beer. So
As someone from a former colony who's overthrown the yoke of British imperialism, I would say that it was a little interesting. I mean, the concept of being in London and then an hour-long train ride, and you're in an entirely different place, right? I mean, first of all, I can't get anywhere from where I live in an hour on a train because the train doesn't exist.
Yeah. Not to mention runs every like 10 to 15 minutes always.
Yes. So yeah, it was really cool. We didn't have to get in a car. We didn't have to get on a plane. It was easy to come down here, and be by the sea.
Good, exactly. Bit of fresh air.
But we can't see France from here.
No. You
No,
can't.
too far.
No, unless you've got
We
really
have to
big
go to
eyes.
Dover. Is Brighton better than Dover?
Dover, I think you can't see it, can you? You can't see France.
No, it's about 25 miles.
Yeah, it's
You're
just
not
a bit-
selling it.
No.
Sorry, Dover.
Sorry, Dover.
We'll let the Dover Chamber of Commerce write us a letter.
MacADUK, UK, Dover, maybe
I mean,
not.
I'd
next
say the
year.
choices, the seaside choices, coming south, good choice. East, not so sure.
Wow.
It's
The
yeah.
beaches get smaller?
You're going to get a lynch mob after
It's just
you.
a, it's just
More
a different,
rocky?
It's a different feel.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
The water gets warmer though.
yeah. It's I don't know, a bit different. Brighton's good.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
There we go. Yeah.
I mean, I will say, when we've gone to Max Sissedman in Gothenburg, there was no chance of us getting into the water off
No.
of Sweden. But there's at least maybe a partial chance of getting into the water here. I don't know, did anybody get in the water?
I mean, I understand you saw some people get in the water.
Well, we did see some people get in the water. That was a different, not from this crowd.
Yes.
Very much not so. And maybe also not going to meetings, but maybe they should. But yeah, it's still a little cold out there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice though.
Yeah.
Refreshing.
Yeah. And of course, light out at 7 o'clock. I'm sure Lindsay's very excited about that.
I genuinely can't believe how light it is as well in the evenings. Unbelievable. Now the clocks have changed.
Yeah.
And the sun higher.
I have one more break here that we need to take. Give me just 2 seconds. Workspace ONE Unified Endpoint Management platform gives you the easy-to-use tools you need to manage the entire macOS lifecycle. With Workspace ONE, you can stop managing your Macs by exception and start dramatically improving the employee experiencing by offering manage Mac as a choice. Oh God, I'd better start this. Well, I'll read that last sentence a little over. And sorry, James, because that's what we say when James Smith fixes our audio. And I'll read that last sentence again. With Workspace ONE, you can stop managing your Macs by exception and start dramatically improving the employee experience by offering Mac as a choice. Your Mac users get the benefit of Intelligent Hub, providing remote workforces with a unified app catalog that allows single sign-on to native, virtual, and SaaS apps. There's a people search function that includes an image and org chart, and you can use the Intelligent Hub to send internal communications and more. You can offer Mac as choice with confidence because with Horizon, you can bridge the app gap and you can run Windows applications on macOS virtually in a way that's so seamless to the user that they may not notice the difference. You can also use the built-in Freestyle Orchestrator, a new low-code, no-code workflow automation engine that utilizes sensors, scripts, files, applications, and other building blocks to automate tedious tasks and save your team a boatload of time. There's a lot more to Workspace ONE for Macs than this. Workspace ONE can truly help you manage every platform, every device type, every use case. And of course, the folks at VMware would be happy to talk more about it. You can visit them at their booth or at macadmins.workspace.one or call them at 877-486-9273. Again, that number, 877-486-9273. And thanks so very much to our friends at VMware for sponsoring the MacAdmins podcast.
So I will say, and I didn't notice this as much yesterday when we were up here doing the panel, there is kind of a Thunderdome feel here. For those of you listening, you can't see, but we're in a nice ballroom, and there's a balcony on the second floor that goes around the entire outside. So you have a layer of folks, hi,
everybody.
that are staring down at us, which is kind of intimidating. Maybe your Thai boxing, this would fit well.
Yeah, no, it's which is fine.
I was going to say, when I walked into the ballroom and looked up and saw all the things, I had a brief flashback to the first MacADUK in the theater there, in the lower floor, where there was a small room. I mean, again, this ballroom is enormous. But, I was going to say, sat maybe 20 people down in the small theater, and then there was a mezzanine right up here. You never knew where to look. And I was going to say, this has been great, though. We've got, what was our total attendee count this year?
I think we're at about 180, I think, in total, which wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Considering, with this, we kind of had and again, a big thanks to everyone who's made the effort to come down as well. But myself and the rest of the MacAD team, we really had to start. We had a go, no go early January, and it was literally like, right, is this on? Trying to plan ahead, looking at the restrictions, what was happening with, obviously, the dreaded C word. And, yeah, I think everything's kind of fallen into place, yeah.
It's been pretty amazing. Yeah. And thanks very much to Alex and Maxine from AMSYS, who've done an incredible
Absolutely.
job this week under incredibly difficult circumstances. And, I also want to thank our wonderful folks from PSAV who've kept us sounding amazing and looking good all week. So that's been pretty great. And, we think about, what it takes to put on a conference like this. It's nice to get back to that.
Yeah.
And the hard work that goes into this is really kind of enabling the community as a whole to kind of maybe get back together a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of years, and the general feel I've had from everyone is like, it's just great to be out. It's just great to see people again. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, I totally forgot how to pack a suitcase in the last 2 years, and it took me twice as long to get ready for this trip as it normally would have. And I was like, I don't know how to do this anymore. And of course, it's like you're going through your checklist and trying to figure out what you forgot. This year I forgot, a second plug adapter, because I only have one of those, and so I could charge one thing at a time.
Yeah.
That was a little messy, but...
Yeah, I'm hoping this is a bit of an icebreaker for conferences, so we're back on.
I hope so. I was going to say, I certainly don't begrudge the folks at Penn State MacAdmins or MacDevOps or MacSysAdmin for saying, I'm going to be cautious about this, because it takes a lot to put on an event. It takes a lot to go through that process, and I don't think everybody's quite ready to travel yet. But we certainly had a great turnout this week. It's been great talks and a lot of great socialization. Now, I guess we don't know yet if this has been a super spreader event. But
well, it definitely
Don't say
wasn't
that.
me, because I had COVID a few weeks ago, so I'm immune.
good for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
I'm glad, actually, truthfully, I'm really glad you're on the other side of that.
yes,
Because it's messy. It's not a great experience.
it's not my finest moment, no, but I think it was better than I thought.
Okay.
I mean,
Vaccines, science, all
three,
those good things.
yeah, all the science,
Yeah.
three vaxes in and all that. But yeah, it was. I mean, ultimately, the sum total of. I know other people get it worse, but I literally put my hood up and just pulled the strings tight, and that was just how I felt for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Like the software update binary.
Like the software update binary. just a bit.
I knew we'd get back.
I think we should stop with that. I think it's.
I feel like it's just there, we're just kicking it.
Oh, don't.
Don't kick it when it's down,
No.
because it's down a lot.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
That team is not going to send me any fan mail.
It's been a long time since I've been an Apple, but I still feel bad now.
All right, we'll leave that be. But, I think what I want to kind of bring us back to and wrap up with a bonus question as we're starting to get towards time. I want to think a little bit about your favorite part of being here in Brighton. And, as we get into we all are really thrilled to be back together again. But what has made it special about this place as opposed to any place else? I think about a lot of the milieu that's out there for Penn State. I mean, obviously, Penn State, has a cultish following for the Creamery. We think about the former Mac Tech conference, which is going to the beach in LA or going to one of the amusement parks and things like that. But when you think about this conference, what are you going to take home with you in your memory? So I'll start that. Nick, do you have a thought there?
Yeah, it was a really interesting place to have it, right? It was almost a bit more of a mini vacation than a normal, we could do it in London or somewhere where we've all done the conference before, right?
Sure.
But I don't know. It was. I want to use the word gloomy, but in a good way. It was that like beautiful kind of gloomy,
Yes. Yeah.
Textbook British weather.
Yeah. It was great, and I had a nice view from the hotel, and
Sure.
it was, and of course it was just great to see everybody in person.
I'm just really annoyed that the weather did not continue, because on Saturday I was on the beach in shorts and I was like, amazing, this is going to be excellent next week. Looked at the weather app, rain. It's like brilliant. So, but I'm glad everyone's come down, they've made the effort, and it is somewhere different. Brighton's got a massive tech sector in it, and there's a lot of businesses coming out of London, and there's a lot of, almost like DevOps people and everything else down here. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. David?
I think this conference is a bit more special to me compared to all the other I go to lots of other conferences, but because I was involved in the original start of it.
The godfather.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So it's got a little special place in my heart. Where is that? There, my heart, right here.
Yeah.
So it just feels a bit. It's nice to see it continue, because with COVID you kind of thought, we can do it again or not, or what's going to happen? So it's nice to see it happen again, see people here, and get face to face with people again.
For sure. And, I think for me, going down to the pub across the way, that little hole-in-the-wall pub, which is all of about 2 rooms and a bar between them, it's great to just sit in spaces like that, little cool spaces that you just wouldn't find anyplace else.
I think it's got to have the record as the closest drinking establishment to a conference venue that we've had, right?
Yeah.
If you go to Penn State, there's a restaurant usually in the conference center, but you have to go down some stairs and walk a bit. And here, this is even closer. I
think first MacADUK, it was next door.
It was, correct.
So
you're continuing a theme here at MacADUK.
It's like the British conferences.
The British
You have to
conferences.
be.
I feel like the pub track is actually a pretty good track. So.
Yeah. Problems are solved there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing about conferences like this, right? We're all together in a space. It's a place to, kick around ideas. It's a space to be off the record and have great conversations and learn about things in new and different ways. And I'm really looking forward to solving problems like that with everybody as we come through the unlocking process.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed this is on, basically.
Yep.
Back on.
I was going to say, so Brighton again in 2023?
There's definitely been quite an overrounding sort of, people saying, yes, we like it here. So I think, yes, definitely, it's on.
All right. We'll see you again in a year.
Absolutely. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, everybody, for joining another episode of the MacAdmins podcast. I'd like to thank our wonderful friends at VMware, Halp, and Kanji. I'd also like to thank the wonderful folks who back us on Patreon. Thanks so very much for all of your support. It means a lot. And, of course, thanks to our wonderful friends at PSAV for all their audio support today. And to our friends at AMSYS for hosting this wonderful conference. And thanks, everybody, for joining us for the episode of the podcast. We'll see you next year here at MacADUK.
Thanks, folks. Amazing.
Oh, I thought when you said that, maybe you wouldn't have another podcast for a while.
Oh. No, actually, I record another one in about 24 hours.
Don't break the fourth. What's the fourth wall in radio?
Fourth wall time. It's the fourth dimension at that point.
Fair enough.
The never now is a part of that. So, cool. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Please subscribe and check out more content from us.